Thank you so much, Eduardo. I hope, confirm you can be able to see my screen.
Yes, we can see and we can hear you very clearly. Thank you.
Correct. I will take the first stage of making the presentation. I just want to take you through the NAKIMS, which is the system you have already mentioned. But first, KNQA was established under the Kenya National Qualifications Framework Act number 22 of 2014. The mandate of the authority is to establish and maintain the Kenya National Qualifications Framework. The system that we are using to maintain our framework, our NQF MIS, is what we are calling the National Qualifications Information Management Systems, which is in short mentioned as NAKIMS. NAKIMS is a system for registering qualifications, awarding institutions. We also use the same system to register qualifications as well as management of learners' records. The architecture of this system is based on distributed ledger technology, popularly known as blockchain. KNQA has leveraged on blockchain technology to create a central repository of all qualifications in Kenya, hence making qualifications management to be seamless. The objective of this NQF MIS called NAKIMS is to register all the qualification awarding institutions. And by so doing, we also accredit the same institutions. After registering these qualifications awarding institutions, we also register their respective qualifications, and we use the same system to also upload the learners' records into the Kenya National Learners' Records database. As you can see on the screen is a representation of the stakeholders that are contributing to the Kenya National Qualifications Framework. We have the universities, TVET institutions, professional bodies, and other mandated institutions that are allowed to issue qualifications. These stakeholders are the ones that are acting as our data sources for our Kenya National Learners' Records database. The architecture of the system that we have mentioned, which is the NAKIMS, is as you can see on the screen. On the previous screen, we just looked at the stakeholders. We have just tried to bring all these stakeholders on board using a single architecture. So in that architecture, we have examination bodies, TVET institutions, the CUE, SCAC, policymakers, KNQA itself, the universities, students, and TVET institutions. As we mentioned earlier on, we have embraced or we have leveraged on blockchain technology to get to be able to achieve seamless transfer of information between the different stakeholders using this architecture. NAKIMS, or the NQF MIS, was brought in board to give us solutions to some inherent problems that we have been facing in the past. And these problems were centering on the general public, the country as a whole, qualifications awarding institutions, and also the various government education agencies that manage qualifications in this country. I won't go into the details of those challenges, but as you can see, I've included on the presentation that will be shared later on. I just want to make an illustration of how the stakeholders benefit from this NAKIMS system. Through the system, we analyze information, we do a lot of analysis, and we provide the same information to education stakeholders. This analysis is normally in line with the qualification trends. which is also shared to potential employment agencies, policymakers. It has created a lot of efficiency and effectiveness in terms of the management of these qualifications, and it creates trust and transparency. It is also good to mention at this point that we have integrated this system called NAKIMS with other education management systems like RPL, the Kenya Credit Accumulation and Transfer System, the National Recognition, Equation and Verification System, and various integrations are also ongoing so that we can have the information in the Kenya National Learners Records database shared with other systems across board. There's a diagram on the screen there, which is just an illustration of how we used to do operations manually on the left side of the screen. On the right side of the screen, we have introduced the blockchain technology. The major difference between the two is that on the left side, we used to rely on printed documents in terms of qualifications, and it used to create a lot of chaos when it comes to the management of qualification in our country. But on the right side, we are introducing the digital format of doing it. And as you can see, qualifications awarding institutions are interlinked together through a seamless transfer of information using the various application programming interfaces. These APIs are the ones that will enables transfer of information from QAIs to the Kenya National Qualifications Authority. And in this manner, we can be able to manage the various qualifications awarding institutions together with their qualifications, as well as the learners' records. This is just an access guide of what happens in the NAKIM system, starting from the point where institutions make a formal request to KNQA so that they can be onboarded in the system by creating accounts. A verification link is normally sent to the QAIs. When after the verification of the accounts have been done, we normally create an account using the NAKIM system so that the various QAIs or qualifications awarding institutions can be able to apply for registration or accreditation. And from there, they can also be able to bring on board their qualifications as well as their learners. This is just the same diagram illustrated in a more broad perspective. Again, I won't go into the details of that. So as I mentioned earlier on, we accredit qualifications awarding institutions. Thereafter, we register the various qualifications at different levels. Again, the registration of qualifications at different levels has been illustrated by the steps on the presentation there. Again, I won't go into the details. After the registration of qualifications, we now bring on board the learners into the system to what we are calling the Kenya National Learners Records Database. And as I mentioned earlier on, this has been achieved by interconnecting the various QAIs using the various APIs. These qualification awarding institutions upload their data directly into the KNLRD or the Kenya National Learners Records Database. On the browser, they can be able to log into NAKIMS, and upon logging into the NAKIMS, they can be able to go through the registration process. We have two options of doing it. Using the APIs, information can be onboarded through the NAKIM systems directly, or it can be done by uploading using in an Excel format using a predefined template. After this information has been put in the NAKIM system, the outside world can be able to verify the qualifications by just creating by just registering to the NAKIM system. And after registration, they can be able to get a link through their email so that they can be able to log into the NAKIM system and verify the various qualifications. Some of the challenges that we have had so far, just like my former colleague has just presented for South Africa, we have an issue to do with the volume of data. As Eduardo has mentioned, this system is quite young. We just rolled it out this year. We are in the process of registering qualifications awarding institutions as well as the various qualifications. Our database is quite young. We expect it to grow over time. For now, because of the volume of data that we have, it is not sufficient enough. We have not guaranteed a good payload capacity in terms of the capacity or the volume of the data that we have. But as it matures, it will be able to grow and we can be able to capture as many qualifications as possible moving forward. There is an issue to do with validation and verification of records. Just by ensuring that mechanisms have been put in place in the design of the system, such that when you are uploading the learner's records, the system has a mechanism of checking whether the information is valid. And also, it is the responsibility of the qualification awarding institutions to ensure that the information they upload into the Kenya National Learners Records database meets the required standards. The third challenge is the aspect of integrity, just ensuring that the information provided is exact. And we have to cater for this. Blockchain technology has assisted us a lot by ensuring that the exact copy of information that the QAIs have is the exact information that is contained in the Kenya National Learners Records database. So in a nutshell, we are seeing the management of qualifications in our country to be NAKIMS as the solution to all the problems that we have mentioned earlier on. And that is why in most cases, we normally talk of the backstops at NAKIMS when it comes to the management of qualifications in our country. So up to that point, I want to submit if the Director General or the CEO is on board, he can be able to make some few comments. Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you, Asante Sana. Thank you very much for this presentation. As we expected, it's of course a little bit of a new world. And we can see that national qualifications frameworks and systems are changing. It looks like there is a very strong multidisciplinarity that is needed to innovate and to make these systems operational. Now we are talking already about data science, data analytics, blockchain technologies. So I think it's a little bit of a new world opening, and if national qualifications frameworks are catching up and are able to join this multidisciplinarity and the world of data science, maybe there are indeed a number of issues that can be addressed differently from now on. And thank you so much for sharing the details on how the system, the NAKIMS is being built, and also the challenges related with data volume, data validation and verification, data integrity. Thank you so much. I'd like also, of course, to ask Dr. Mukhwana, would you have some comments or some suggestions, some insightful remarks from your CEO view?
Nothing to add, just to say that we found ourselves in a very complicated system where we had nearly 3,000 institutions keeping databases of learners and the qualifications in their system. And this is what we have been doing for a very long time. So what we are trying to do is to bring all this information into one system. As you can imagine, it exists in different formats. Because of the way we joke around is in Kenya, the mother was born after the babies were already born. So the qualification framework came in when we have very mature universities and everything like that. So we are always seen as a baby, and so it requires a lot of talking, a lot of sweet talking sometimes. So not everybody is happy because some people want to be very protective about their roles, but we keep talking. So far we've managed quite a bit, and as I indicated in my earlier remarks, when we were developing the system, we expected a lot of resistance. Luckily, we have a lot of institutions queuing up. Every month, we are registering nearly 500, 600 new qualifications. So the support is there. We also have a lot of support from the highest levels of government, and that has really supported our work. So we see that although this is work in progress, one of the lessons to take away is having the political government support is very, very important for us. So we have a lot of institutions queuing, and part of the challenge is all the information that you have must be put in the same, as Koech was saying, it must be put in the same structure before it to be uploaded into the system. So it takes a bit of time. It's a lot of work for universities, especially some of them are very old, 50 years, but we are working with them, and we are happy with the progress that we are making. Let me leave it there, Eduardo.